Good morning, boys and girls. I'm Miss Lydia from the Boston Library. Thank you so much for joining me for story time. Today we are talking about ponds and frogs. Our first book is called Over and Under the Pond by Kate Messner with art by Christopher Silas Neal. Over the pond we slide, splashing through lily pads, sweeping through reeds. See their boat there? The water's a mirror reflecting the sky, sunshine and clouds, then a shadow below. What's down there? I ask. Under the pond, Mom says. Under the pond is a whole hidden world of minnows and crayfish, turtles and bullfrogs. We're paddling over them now. Over the pond, we skim past tall rushes. Whirligig beetles loop and twirl, skaters on a warm summer surface. See all the beetles? Under the pond, minnows dart through waving forests of grass, while a brook trout lurks, ready to lunge. Over the pond, we lift and dip and pull past a row of painted turtles on a waterlogged tree. 1, 2, 3. They slip off and away. Splash, gurgle, sploosh, under the pond. Over the pond, cattails rustle and shush in the wind. Listen close. Cook-la-ree! Red-winged blackbirds race by. One has grass for her nest. Under the pond, a caddisfly larva builds a home of her own, a secret shelter of pebbles and sand. Over the pond, the shadows of trees lean out from the shore. We coast under a low-hanging branch. A moose looks up with a mouthful of water lilies. We've interrupted his lunch. Under the pond, beavers dive deep. They pump with powerful tails and rise to the surface with delectable roots from the mud. Over the pond, the wind gives us a push and stirs the light dappled leaves on the shore. There, on a branch, a new goldfinch teeters, finally ready to fly. Do you see that goldfinch there? Under the pond, tadpoles are changing, learning to hop. They're losing tails and growing legs and growing up. Do you see tadpole? And then he starts to get some legs, and then his tail starts to disappear. Over the pond, there at the shore, tall and silent and still, a great blue heron stares down into the deep. It tenses, takes one long-legged step, and strikes. It catches a wiggling, quicksilver minnow from where it was hiding under the pond. Over the pond we drift, heads tipped up to the sun. A woodpecker clings to a teetering pine, digging for ants. Under the pond, an otter claws for freshwater mussels. Over the pond, a sleepy dragonfly lands for a rest. His spindly legs tickle my knee. Under the pond, dragonfly larvae watch what swims by. They catch minnows in monster-fast jaws. Over the pond, the shadows stretch. Ospreys circle on quiet wings. Raccoons and mink stalk the shoreline for supper. Under the pond, with a flip of a tail, a crayfish disappears into the dark. There he is, getting away from the raccoon. Over the pond, we head for home. We glide, swish, bump, right up onto the shore as a far-off loon calls goodnight. The sky turns from sunset to dusk to dark. Night settles over the pond. The prowling catfish and the drowsy turtles, the scuttling crayfish, and the tadpoles turned frogs, wading herons, and stalking raccoons, and the hidden world under the pond. Our next book is called Little Frog and the Spring Pollywogs. Story by Jane Yolen, illustrated by Ellen Shee. Little Frog looked down into the clear spring pond. It was green. She liked green. But now dozens of little long-tailed dark dots darted through the water, muddying the green. Brothers, sisters, cousins, Mama Frog called them. Trouble, thought Little Frog. Little Frog liked being an only. She liked finding the best lily pad where she could sit and soak up the sun, not having to share it with some silly pollywogs. She loved having Mama Frog and Papa Frog all to herself, except maybe when they scolded her. She loved getting the first and biggest slice of Mama Frog's shoe fly pie, and seconds, and, if she really wanted, thirds. She preferred the pond clear of pollywogs and all hers. Well, except for Papa Frog and Mama Frog and Uncle Frog and Aunt Frog and the slippery silver fish that flashed along the water lanes, and the toads. The toads were close enough cousins for Little Frog. But now, here were all these pollywogs. Tadpoles, Papa Frog said she must call them. They were always stirring up the pond's bottom, bumping into things, crying out for attention, getting in the way. Where will all these pollywogs live when they are grown? Asked Little Frog. It's not like it's a great big pond. Tadpoles, Papa Frog reminded, but alas, most of them will not become frogs. Mama Frog put her arms around Little Frog. You are our only. She suddenly sounded kind of sad. Days went by. The tadpoles became only a handful of creatures with small legs and smaller arms. Still too many, Little Frog grumbled as she navigated around them. They reached out to grab her with their new arms, tangled her in their new legs. No, said Little Frog, bad tads. By the time it was fully spring, there were only 3 tadpoles left. Little Frog thought them ugly and annoying, but Mama Frog held them in her arms. She sang them frog lullabies, called them Dumplin' and Greenling, like she used to call Little Frog. Little Frog sat alone on a lily pad and felt terribly, horribly sorry for herself. Now all the grown-ups were underwater getting ready for a big block party. There would be greens and shoe fly pie and gallons of bug juice, so no one saw the big red boots and the long skinny poles and the stringy nets. No one but Little Frog pouting on the pad. Suddenly, she remembered Uncle Frog's warning. Boys with nets and off you get! She leaped into the water, surprising the pollies. But instead of swimming down to the pond's bottom as any thoughtful frog would do, those silly creatures headed directly to where the red boots waited with their nets. Serves them right, thought Little Frog. But then she remembered Mama Frog's sad face. She remembered that once she had been a tadpole swimming with other dark, darting dots. For the first time, she wondered what had happened to all of them. Waving her arms like flags until she got their attention, she boomed out, "No! Danger!" Little Frog's voice was so big, her arms so frantic, that the tadpoles turned together and headed to the pond's bottom. There, Mama Frog gathered them up and crooned a no-danger song. "You saved the tads," Papa said to Little Frog, smiling. "Someday they will save you." Little Frog thought about that. It sounded Well, nice. As long as they don't take more than their share of the shoe-fi pie, Little Frog said. Then she added, or get in my way. Uncle Frog boomed a laugh. I'm afraid you can count on them always taking more pie and getting in the way. How do you know? Asked Little Frog. Uncle Frog pointed to Papa Frog. Because your papa is my little brother, and that's just what little brothers do. Our next book is called City Dog, Country Frog. Words by Mo Willem. Pictures by John J. Muth. Spring. City Dog didn't stop on that first day in the country. He ran as far and as fast as he could, and all without a leash. City Dog spotted something he had never seen sitting on a rock. It was Country Frog. What are you doing? Asked City Dog. Waiting for a friend, replied Country Frog with a smile. But you'll do. City Dog and Country Frog played together. City Dog was new to the country, so Country Frog taught him Country Frog games. Country Frog games involved jumping and splashing and croaking. That was spring. Summer. City Dog didn't stop to admire the green, green grass. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. I'm going to do you a favor, said City Dog when he found Country Frog. I'm going to teach you City Dog games. City Dog games involved sniffing and fetching and barking. City Dog and Country Frog played until Country Frog was too tired to sniff and fetch and bark anymore. That was summer. Fall. City Dog didn't stop to sniff the falling leaves. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. What shall we play today? Asked City Dog. Dog or frog games? Country Frog took a deep breath. I'm a tired frog, replied Country Frog. Maybe we can play remembering games. City Dog and Country Frog sat together on the rock. They remembered their spring, jumping and splashing and croaking. They remembered their summer, sniffing and fetching and barking. That was fall. Winter. City Dog didn't stop to eat the snow. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. City Dog looked for Country Frog. There's his rock. Country Frog was not there. He waited for quite a while, didn't he? That was winter. Spring again. Country Chipmunk spotted something she had never seen sitting on a rock. It was City Dog. What are you doing? Asked Country Chipmunk. Waiting for a friend, replied City Dog sadly. Then he smiled, a froggy smile, and said, but you'll do. That was spring again. And he'd made a new friend, right? That's the end. Our last book is called Leap Back Home to Me by Lauren Thompson, illustrated by Matt Cordell. Leapfrog over the ladybug, leapfrog over the bee. Leapfrog over the tickly clover. Can you spot a couple of four-leaf clovers in there? I see a few. Then leapfrog back home to me. Leapfrog over the daisies. Leapfrog over the creek. Leapfrog over the splashing beavers. Spring. Then leap back home to me. What are they going to do when he gets home? Looks like they're going to color with some crayons. Leapfrog over the owl's nest. Leapfrog over the trees. Leapfrog over the rocky hilltop. Whee! Then leap back home to me. It's for story time. It says Frog Time Stories. Leapfrog over the mountains. Leapfrog over the sea. Leapfrog over the roaming clouds. Whoosh! Then leap back home to me. Looks like it's dinner time there. Leapfrog over the sun. Leapfrog as high as you please. Leapfrog out to the farthest stars. Zoom. And when you leap home, here I'll be.